Hi everyone, it's Joanne. Welcome to my channel. A huge shout out to Noreen for picking up that I had uploaded the wrong video. So today I'm going to make my second project with the Your Creative Studio 2022 kit, and I'm going to make a tag. And I'm taking paper. It's not cardstock. I think I got it in a mailer or something. And I made it approximately, I believe, 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. So I'm cutting that down. And then I'm going to take the tag and I'm going to cut off a corner. And a little trick after you cut this off is to reverse it and put it on the other side, and that way you can ensure that it's even on both sides, your tag. But this one comes out a little too peaked. I don't like it, so I actually end up starting over and taking the other piece of the paper to create the tag. And the second one turns out a little better. Sometimes eyeballing is definitely the way to go instead of trying to mask over it. So then I take the contents of my kit and I just start playing around with everything to try to get a composition that I like. And I honestly take way too long doing this. You can make this tag a lot longer and make it into a bookmark, but I'm going to end up using this one on the other side of my traveler's notebook, where I created the page about Panther the bird, and I'll write some journaling on the back of this card and just stick it in the book for that. So I try out all different pieces from the kit to try to get a composition and a color palette that I like. I rip my pieces. Don't be afraid to rip your pieces. I definitely was in the beginning, and I'll tell you, I didn't use as much as in my kits than I wanted to. So don't be afraid, use your kit. It's not serving any purpose being in the box, you know, on a shelf. So definitely use the contents. They give you plenty, and they're to be used to create projects. So again, I'm not sure what I'm going to use as a focal point. And I start trying out the different birds, but I think they're just a little too big for this tag, but it doesn't stop me from trying out literally every single one. I guess looking back now at the video, they don't seem too big, but when I was originally trying to pick a bird, they just seemed too big for this tag. And they kind of clashed with the paper I have on the right, which is a paper that I definitely wanted to use. I end up going into my pack and choosing the smallest bird, which is the one I ended up using as the focal point. I go into the other paper pack, and I remember that there were some music notes in there, and I thought, well, birds sing, so maybe I'll put the music birds notes up top. But I don't think the paper, the color in the paper really go well with what I had already chosen for the tag. So I try out this paper again. I really like this tablet that comes in your kit. They are all the same, so again, there's plenty of it, but I don't think that looks right either. So I think I end up taking the piece that's on the left. I believe I reversed these two and put a different one up top, or maybe I chose one of these floral ones. But again, I play around with this entirely too much for a simple tag. But I need to just make a decision and go with it. I don't pre-plan off camera, and maybe in this case I should have. I like you to see my process, from the start. But I finally commit and start gluing pieces down. Not before I try out birds again. I don't think in my mind I had picked this little one yet for the focal point, but maybe right here I do. Yep, I like the way that looks. So I'm going to go with that. I try out one of the stamps, the butterflies, but decide that doesn't really go. I mean, again, looking back, that didn't look too bad, but I don't think I go with that piece on the left, the upper left. I'm using my tape roller again, but on this tag I could have used glue, and if you're using a heavier substrate or base, you definitely can use your glue if you don't have double-sided, a tape roller. But I had mine handy, and that's what I used on this, but I end up having to go back and getting some of the corners glued down with regular Tombow liquid glue, but you can use any kind of a white glue. I like how the bird looks sitting on one of the little strips that come in the kit, and I end up putting him down on top of that. But I do try out some of the different colors. Again, I agonize too long over this. I should be kind of less of a perfectionist and just go with it. And then I end up with that little white space in the middle, and I don't like it so stark white. I don't like where the birds, I think it's sitting up a little too high there. So I end up going back with my Distress ink and just kind of filled in right there, which is what I do often when I collage and I have a little bit of white space that doesn't cover, and I really don't want to put down another piece of paper for whatever reason. So all I really need to do is fill in that little spot on the top left, and it's going to be finished. Then I'm going to come along and trim off the edges. But first, not without trying to figure out if a little butterfly will go on the tag first. and maybe one of the little berries, but no, I decide against that too. Oh my. Well, let me at least get the focal point, taped down. You can glue these on. You don't have to pull the backing up to the stickers if you're struggling with that. But thankfully, I have my little pick tool to help with that. Right now, I'm finally cutting off the backs to straighten up the excess pieces. It makes such a difference when you see it all cleaned up. I actually think it's pretty, and I am quite happy with the end product. And this is where I need to go down and just glue down some of the little edges from using the double-sided tape instead of glue. Now I think it's done, but me, I have to fool around a little more, and I think it needs something in the upper left-hand corner. But that's not it. I use the same piece of paper that's in the bottom right-hand corner, and I think it just makes the composition, the balance of the composition work. I'm going to grunge that up a little bit, ink it up. And stick that down. And then my final step will be putting the little hole in the top to attach the twine and actually make it into a tag. So I use my crocodile, but you definitely don't need that. You can use any kind of a hole punch to get the hole. And I'm definitely not well seasoned with this tool. I also end up adding an eyelet. Again, it's not a step that you need to do. No, Joanne, they're brads. Get the eyelets. Here's the eyelets. It's the first time I've actually ever put an eyelet onto a project. I had just purchased them at Hobby Lobby not too long ago, and I'm not even really sure how the crocodile works with that, but I give it a shot, and it did, much to my surprise. I don't think it did, so I do it twice, but lo and behold, it did work. And I just take some regular old twine. First I try out a different material, but no, I like the twine. It kind of just looks old. And I string it through the hole, and then I have a finished project. After all that playing around with the paper, you should be able to make a tag in a couple minutes, not, the 20-some minutes that it took me. Sometimes just being on camera, you overthink things, but look how pretty it is. I really like it. Get down the last little corner. I end up pulling up a little bit of the paper when I do that, and I have to go back and put a little ink there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you.